Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Batatui, and today we're bringing you guys part 3 of our draft viability series thing, which title I've not entirely figured out yet in the span that we've been doing this. Once again, I'm joined by Schady. Introduce yourself again.
Hi, I'm still Schady. I still play Pokemon in the PPL with the Bayern Munich, and I never win titles.
Alright. You probably, if you've come this far, you know who he is at this point. We're going to move on. Last time we finished up with Mega Gardevoir. Now we're going to move on to a mon that also, is kind of weird to draft, but it's also, really good, and it's also, not that good. We're going to go over Gengar.
Yay.
So you can start off with that.
No, you can start. It's
Alright,
yours.
I guess I'll start then.
Because I ended last time, so... Yeah.
Okay, so Gengar, we'll talk about the positives first, because it does have a lot of positives. Speed and special attack stat, and typing. Ghost is super spammable, Poison is pretty spammable as well, especially being able to check fairies. There's very little that wants to switch into this thing's dual stab, just because, again, Ghost is so spammable. Literally only, I think, dark types resist it. Is that correct? And normal types, obviously. And then its dual stab hits both of them neutrally. It also has access to Focus Blast, which hits both of them super effectively. With the Life Orb, this thing OHKOs quite a bit. It 2-KOs most things as well, and with its, like I said, with its spammable dual stab, with its offensive stat, it just tears cores apart. Like Fairy Dragon Steel, it tears apart. Water, Fire, Grass, it tears apart entirely. So it's super good offensively. It's in a very good speed tier, very good Life Orb user, very usable Scarf user, even Specs if you want to. Expert Belt, things like that. Problem with this, pretty obvious in its defensive stats, is that it's super easily revenge killable by anything faster than it. Not only is it revenge killable by things that are faster than it, but Pursuit is this thing's worst enemy.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You can run Colberberry if you want to, but even that doesn't save you too much. I think Pursuit with Colberberry is still doing 40% from weaker things. I think Bisharp still does 50% to you, T-Tar is still doing plenty to you. Also, you're relying on Focus Blast to hit that dark type that's checking you, and there are some dark types, there are some things that Pursuit Trap this thing that you can't do anything to. For example, Shady's favorite Pokemon, Skuntank. You just switch it in, resist both dual stabs, takes Focus Blast neutrally. You can burn it with Will-O-Wisp, which is one of the best ways to deal with Pursuit Trappers, but you're still probably losing your Gengar, even though you did cripple something on your opponent's side.
Can beat Skuntank. I'll get to that in a sec.
Okay. So, being easily Pursuit Trapped and being super frail, especially on the physical side, are the thing's biggest drawbacks. Plus, obviously, being weak to Sucker Punch, it's just OHKO'd by any Sucker Punch. But again, that doesn't take away from the good things about it. It has a super good move pool, has Dazzling Gleam if you want to hit dark types super effectively without risking the miss. It has Energy Ball, it has Focus Blast like I mentioned, has Giga Drain as well, though typically you're going to run Energy Ball for its damage output. You can run the Will-O-Wisp Hex set, or if you have Toxic Spikes on your side of the field. I believe this gets Destiny Bond, it does, that's pretty cool as well. You can run Sub Split, which is really cool. You can run a Sub Black Sludge variant with Sub Pain Split, and then Dual Stab, or just one stab and then another attacking move. It does get access to things like Sucker Punch, which is kind of weird, but it can be good for certain things like Faster Ghosts or something like that. Psychic types like maybe Alakazam or Mega Alakazam you can hit super effectively, and you wouldn't be able to outspeed them, which is nice. T-Bolt is also really nice. It's a very fast and very good taunt user. Like I said, it's a viable Scarf or Specs user, so you can run a trick set. So offensively, this thing is super good. It tears up, it'll more than likely tear up your opponent's defensive core, and it just is so hard to switch into, and it's super scary to prep for. But it just really lacks it lacks heavily on the defensive side, and it's super easy to Pursuit Trap.
Yeah, so I don't think I have to talk about its offensive prowess at all. You did that for the most part. I've used it a little bit recently, and I think the only really issue is Pursuit. If Pursuit wasn't a thing, the thing would be one of the best Pokemon draft format, probably. It's also just really hard to fit on drafts, I found, because I wanted to draft Gengar for, ever. Because it's just so good and so fun to use, but it just doesn't fit on drafts. You already have a good poison type usually. You probably have a couple things weak to knock off, or dark in general, just because psychic types are really, really good. It's like it's hard to fit on drafts occasionally because it's relatively expensive or high tier or whatever the fuck, depending on what draft system you use. So that's another issue for it. But what I really like about it are its gimmick options. My favorite set to use in Gen 5 and like early Gen 6 is Sub-Disable. That thing is probably the best Sub-Disable user. English, I speak it. For one, it's really fast. That's good for Disable. Also, its typing in Poison Dark plus Levitate means a lot of things only have one way of actually doing damage to it. You can avoid T-Waves, Will-Wisps, and whatnot with Sub. You can disable the one attack if it can touch you, and then you can just kind of beat things that way. Not super reliable, but it can work, and if it does work, it's really, really fun. Also, I mentioned the way it can beat Skuntank. That's Reflect type. I've seen it work, because Skuntank can't touch Skuntank, really. So you can Reflect up on that, and you can just hit it with HP grounds, and you will probably beat it, especially if you run a little bit of a bulkier spread. That's kind of another neat gimmick. As you mentioned, Destiny Bond is a fun thing, and Taunt as well. Haze, you know, that's a fun move. Gengar is a really good focus Sash user as well. If you can keep rocks off your side of the field, Sash Gengar is a really good check to a lot of big threats. There's another special attacker that gets knockoff for things like Chansey, which is cool. That kind of, I guess, inspired by Mega Gengar. Not Decimond. The other one, Parry Song, is kind of cool. Trick is always a good move to have. The thing has a lot of gimmick options that can be fun. More likely not, but you can always use them, and that's something your opponent is probably not going to be able to prep for. And if you are a creative player, I definitely recommend using Gengar, especially then. Like, I always recommend Gengar because it's just good, but if you're a creative player, just do it and, you know, mess with your opponent's minds, and it's going to be really fun for you. And yeah, Gengar is amazing.
Mm-hmm. And
like if you have a team that Gengar fits on, just do it. It's
great. Like you mentioned, it is kind of hard to build around. Typically when I'm drafting, I want to go for a bulkier ghost just because I enjoy spin blocking, and like most rapid spinners have a way to hit ghosts, like being knockoff, but if you're like a bulkier ghost with Colbur Berry, you don't care too much, or your Excadrill, where it just hits the ghost hard anyway. But like Gengar, you don't usually want to switch into a rapid spin, because like Starmie outspeeds you, kills you with a psychic move, Excadrill kills you with a ground move, and then like Kabutops or even Sand Slash just like hit you with knockoff and probably kill you. So it doesn't function as a great spin blocker. It's there if you're feeling ballsy, but like it is kind of awkward to fit on teams. It's super good offensively. Problems with it include being easily revenge killed and being pursuit trapped. Sorry, I had to burp in between each of those words. That's cool. So yeah, definitely try it out if you can build around it well. It's super fun, rips through cores. It's got a cool smile.
Yep. Yeah,
doesn't stop.
Kind of the Joker, but better.
So I think it's the only mon that has been OU all 6 generations.
Yes, it is, because Starmie dropped.
That's cool. Good job, Gengar.
That's kind of cool.
Okay, and that's Gengar. You are going to now, or we're going to move on to Gliscor, and I'll let you take the lead on that.
Gliscor is a cool guy. Not the most common Pokemon in draft format. Don't think it ever was, just because it has a 4 times weakness, but what it doesn't stand at, it also doesn't draft. It's a really annoying Pokemon with that bulk 75, 125, 75 is really solid. Not like unkillable, but really bulky. It's a fantastic stall breaker, probably one of the better ones. Well, it is one of the better ones, probably one of the best even. With like Taunt, it's just natural build. Poison Heal plus Toxic Orb. Why does it get so much recovery? Like, it heals so much. You have Roost as well. It's like you just don't die. If you don't hit the thing with a strong ice move, it's not gonna die. It's really, really not fun to play against. Like Gen 5 was like one of the best Pokemon in the tier. Now it's still good, but not as, you know, amazing. But in draft format, it has more offensive options, I feel like. I know my buddy Richie really likes Scarf Gliscor, which is just a fun meme to, you know. Like Scarf Gliscor, no one's gonna expect it. It does okay damage, but I wouldn't recommend it. It's an option. Also, if your league doesn't have Baton Pass clause, this thing can Baton Pass dual dance. It gets agility, gets sword sense, and gets Baton Pass. If you do that, the opponent is probably going to be sad, especially if you Baton Pass into a Mega Pinsir. That didn't happen to me. I also like ran just dual dance with Yachi Berry and killed the Mega Venus with acrobatics, which was fun. Like Gliscor is just a really cool Pokemon. U-turn is good for pivoting. It's a good stealth rocker, very reliable at that. It can be a defogger, though you're gonna lose it on Poison Heal, and Poison Heal is what makes Gliscor as good as it is. So you probably don't want to do that. I think I mentioned Taunt. I'm pretty sure I mentioned Taunt, but I think it deserves another mention. Taunt is just really good on base 95 speed. The thing just beats Wall Cores very reliably. I don't think it's as much of a safe switch into a lot of things in draft play, as it's more of a stall breaker that can check things and prevent it from clicking certain moves like spam, ban, close comment or stuff like that, spam specs, volt switch, T-bolt, whatnot. So that's really cool. It has a lot of weird moves that it gets that you're probably not going to use, like Fire Fang, Ice Fang, not. But the main offensive moves you're going to use are Earthquake, potentially Acrobatics or Aerial Ace, and then Knockoff and Stone Edge. That's pretty much all you're going to use with the thing offensively. And of course U-turn. So that's kind of cool. I like Gliscor. I just don't know if I would pick it early, if that makes sense. Because, like, I don't know. It's not a reliable ground type. I prefer my ground type to be reliable and just wall electric types pretty much. Like Nidoqueen, like Crocodile, things that can just take them on really, really effectively. Gliscor just kind of gets HPI'd and doesn't enjoy it. Takes like 80% from almost every offensive electric type's HPIs, or even dies to a lot of them. So, like, that's not fun, but I think Gliscor is a really fun pivot, a really fun stall breaker, and I think it's a somewhat underrated Pokemon, in my opinion. Like, a good player can do a lot with the thing. Pair it up with a good bulky water, and you have a really good core of just 2 Pokemon. And that's always good to have, I think.
Definitely. Something you mentioned is that the 4 times ice weakness. Similarly to like I said with Garchomp and Lando, it's cool if you can pair this with something like Gastrodon or Seismitoad, because you're taking the Scalds that Gliscor doesn't want to take with those. Your opponent has to figure out which type of hidden power they want to run, and that's really cool. I'm a pretty big fan of Gliscor. I'm a big fan of walls that are speedy as well.
Oh yeah,
like base 95 is super nice. You invest a little bit, you can have speed. Things like Bisharp, and you can knock them out before they hit you. You do have access to, obviously, Toxic Orb, Poison Heal recovery, which is really nice. After your Toxic Orb is activated, you can freely switch into knockoffs with no problem, because you're already poisoned, and as long as you don't have a Heal Bell user on your team, you're fine. Typically, I think you want to run Spadef with this thing, because its Fizdef is already really, really good, and you can take an HP Ice. You can even take 2, depending on the Pokemon. Like, if you're running Protect, like, suppose, like, HP Ice does, like, 65% to you or whatever, on the switch-in. You're then healing up, you're at close to 50%, and then you Protect, and then you can live another HP Ice, or the roll to live another HP Ice. So, that's super, super good. I really like Spadef set as well. You usually don't see this run Stealth Rock and OU just because it needs the moves that it needs, like Earthquake, Taunt, maybe like a Toxic, some other things like that. You don't typically see it as a Stealth Rocker in draft format. It's definitely a viable one, because you can set up rocks and then use your other 3 moves accordingly, which is super nice. It does have a surprisingly good move pool. Like, it has things, like you said, Acrobatics. If you want to run no item, like SD Acrobatics, that is a thing that it can do. It has things like Aqua Tail, it has fighting coverage, obviously Earth Power. Facade is also pretty cool on this thing, like on an SD set as well, because you're benefiting from the Toxic Orb, and you can get a boosted attack as well, and Facade usually hits a lot of things neutrally. It gets access to the Elemental Fangs, it has Knockoff, Poison Jab, Stone Edge as well. It is a Tailwind setter, X-Scissor, U-turn, so it has a really good physical move pool. 95 attack is okay if you want to run it offensively as well. Very, very good Quake Edge switch-in as well, just because... which I know a lot of teams are kind of weak to, so if you're fearing that, this is also a very good pickup. Can obviously immune to the Earthquake, takes rock-type attacks neutrally, but takes physical rock moves very well anyway. It's just like it's super good, not like super good, but it's like a really solid mon that I would see, like, you can pick this up like round 3, and it would be pretty good for you. Also, like I said, it's one of the better stall breakers, because you can taunt a mon, you can stop... Like, you can set up rocks, and then you can, even though you might not be able to touch certain mons, you'll be able to taunt them and stop them from defogging. Like, something I always like to use this for, or something I used this for, like, in OU, was, like, to taunt Skarmory. Because even though you couldn't touch it, you could taunt them, stop them from doing whatever, which is really nice. I would also suggest pairing Gliscor with setup sweepers, because you can taunt phasers, switch out into your sweeper, and then start doing your thing. It's just like, I like it a lot, and its typing fits really well with a lot of other mons that you may want to draft, so I would definitely recommend this mon. Probably pair it with another ground type, just so that every electric type doesn't run Hidden Power Ice and beat you, but it is like a super good, or it's a fun mon to use. It's very good.
Okay, and now we slide in a non-OU Pokemon. Oh, exciting.
Do we? Oh yes, we do.
It's your part. Go do your magic.
Oh yeah, this is the frog thingy.
The frog thingy.
So something we're going to bring up, obviously it's not listed in OU because it's now Uber, but we are now going to cover Greninja. And the reason we're covering Greninja is because in the PPL and the GBA and many other leagues, it is allowed, usually the Torrent. We're going to go over the Torrent. We're probably not going to go over X and Y. We might mention it briefly. But Torrent Greninja is pretty cool. Still obviously gets the move pool that Oris Greninja has, just without the stab on all of them. And without the stab on all of its attacks, it can be a little bit underwhelming. Like, Ice Beam, Gunk Shot don't do as much damage as you want them to do. Like, you're not OHKOing Clefable, you're not OHKOing Sylveon, with things like that. Ice Beam isn't strong enough to, like, kill Tornadus after rocks. And just a lot of things that you'll run into in general, but it's still pretty good. It still has a really nice speed tier, or a very nice speed stat at 122. So you're able to outspeed things like Alakazam, like Mega Absol, the base 115s, Lottie, Sneasel, things like that. And even though its attack stats aren't great, like 95 attack and then 103 special attack, it's good enough to run mixed, which is, I think, the most common set now. Like, you usually see it with, like, Hydro Pump, Ice Beam, Dark Pulse, and then, like, Gunk Shot. But the one really good thing about Greninja, and one of the reasons that it was banned, is because its move pool is absurd. Like, its move pool is absolutely ridiculous. You can run Extra Sensory, Grass Knot, Gunk Shot, like I said, Ice Punch if you want to hit things on the physical side, like Roserade that you'd be able to hit harder on the physical side, Low Kick, Night Slash, Power Up Punch is the thing, it has priority, Quick Attack, and Water Shuriken, Rock Slide is available to you, Shadow Sneak, it gets Spikes and Toxic Spikes, which is really nice. It has U-Turn, it has physical moves and Waterfall. It just has so many different moves that you can really just throw 4 moves on and 2-KO most of your opponent's team, unless it has, unless it's based specifically off their defensive stats. Because coverage-wise, you're probably going to cover your opponent's team very, very well. The only problem that Greninja runs into is without the stab bonus on a lot of these attacks, you're just not going to 2-KO a lot. Like, I'm pretty sure. Let me think of, like, an example. I gave a couple examples earlier on. Like, you're not OHKOing Sylveon with Gunk Shot like you used to be able to. You can't OHKO Azumarill with Gunk Shot, which is really unfortunate. And also, not even, like, being unable to gain the typing kind of sucks as well, because you're always going to be a Water Dark type. You can't play around, like, Shadow Sneak on someone's Mach Punch, which is always really cool. Turn into a Psychic type with Extra Sensory, and then take a Fighting move. Turn into a Poison type on their Moonblast or something like that. You can't do that with Protein Greninja, so it loses out on a lot of that. But it's still a solid mon. Like I said, it can be kind of underwhelming. It can be kind of hard to use, just picking out the 4 moves you want to use and whatnot. The item can also sometimes be confusing. Sometimes you want to run Scarf just to outspeed your opponent's Scarfers. Sometimes you want to run Life Orb just for extra power. Sometimes you want to run E-Belt, but then you're not doing enough damage to things you're hitting neutrally. So, like I said, it's solid. It's a very nice late game sweeper. It's good for momentum game. It can be okay at spike stacking early game, and it is relatively powerful with Stab Hydro Pump, Stab Dark Pulse, but it can be underwhelming just with a lack of stab on its other attacks.
Yeah, I have used Taunt Greninja before. I really like them on. Like, the speed tier is just so nice. Like, 123. Is it 123 or is it 122? That's the one. 123 is a annoying one. But you just check so many things offensively so effectively just because of this thing, speed and offensive move pool. Those are like a really good... Like, it forces a lot of switches, which then means you can get up spikes or T-spikes. And having spikes or T-spikes on your opponent's side, depending on the matchup, is such a big advantage. Mm-hmm. And Greninja itself appreciates having spikes on your opponent's side of the field as well, so that's like a really cool thing. Like, it can set itself up to clean out late game, which is weird but really cool. A lot of times you don't even need like your Dark Step, you just need like Ice Beam, Water Step, and then potentially a Grass Knot or something. Like the thing is really like hard to switch into even without Protean. Things fit you super effectively if it predicts right, if it's like set you're not expecting, like a Choice Band or like Choice Specs or whatever, it can really mess up your plans. And that's really cool. I guess I'm gonna, because there isn't much else to talk about, I'm just gonna talk quickly about the Proteans thing guy with the stuff. Protean is broken, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Whether like Auras, I don't think anyone's argued that Auras should be allowed because that's stupid. But like Greninja is still way too much, in my opinion. Because like we mentioned how it doesn't have many switch-ins without Protean. With Protean, there isn't anything that really wants to take it on. So like, and again, you can play those mind games with the types, with the type thingy, with the, you know, changing your type and whatnot, to avoid like Mach Punches with Shadow Sneak and all that kind of stuff. So it just forces way too many 50-50s and, you know, stuff like that. It's just not healthy, in my opinion. Like, I don't know. I really like this mod, but I don't think Protean should be a thing. If it is, then let me pick it up, please.
Oh yeah, no. If for whatever reason you're in a league where like Protean or Greninja is allowed, then just take it immediately.
Yeah,
because you will 2 KO everything on the planet.
Just sign me up for the league and let me take it. That's like a better play.
There are some leagues that still allow XY Protean Greninja.
Yeah, like
it's
GPC.
still like it's still super good. It's just, like I think the big moves that you don't get access to are Gunk Shot and Low Kick. Mainly Gunk Shot, because Gunk Shot's the one that allows you to hit fairies. So like you can wall Greninja with like some fairies like Sylveon, Florges, Clefable if you run enough Spadef. But like if your team doesn't have one of those, it's just gonna be a huge problem for you.
Yeah, pretty much.
So also something I forgot to mention, just like Protean hidden power on Greninja is just like always good.
That's another thing.
Yeah.
Goodbye any potential switching you had. So yeah, I guess with that we're gonna move on to the next mon, which is a lot more common because it was never banned, because there's no reason to ban it. That didn't make sense. Heatran!
What? Why would you? What?
I don't know.
Whatever. Continue.
Heatran is a cool. Heatran is a guy. Heatran is a guy. A lot of people like it. I personally not the biggest fan of it. Okay, so Heatran is really good in Standard. I think everyone is aware of that fact, just because of its typing plus Flash Fire just being really, really good. And a lot of things just straight up cannot touch it at all. And it's like really good natural bulk, 91 HP, 106, 106 is just good. And hits really hard, like 130 special attack is crazy. I think a lot of people underestimate that. And I think that's where Heatran shines in draft format. I don't think the defensive option is that great, just because of its 4x weakness, which can be relatively easily exploited by a lot of things. Or just be natural gift. I don't want to say natural gift, I want to say hidden power. It's getting late, I'm starting to not be able to talk, it's fine. I think get Earthquake, Earth Power, Hidden Power, Ground even is an option for a lot of strong special attackers, just 2 kills a thing. It's like it's not as reliable defensively, but offensively the thing is such a big threat. Offensive fire types are really good in draft format, I think everyone knows that by now. And Specs or Scarf Fire Blast coming off base 130 special attack is really strong. Add in the option of, you know, having Power Up Solar Beam if you're not choiced to deal with those bulky water types, which bulky water types are pretty much the only thing that deals with Heatran. So if you have something that can lure in those water types, Heatran can have a lot of fun offensively. Flame Charge is also always a cool set. Like you have Flame Charge, you have Fire Blast or Flamethrower, plus Earth Power and potentially Flash Cannon, you just destroy teams late game. And that's really cool. Of course it always has these quote-unquote standard options in Stealth Rocks. You know, Taunt is really, really good on Heatran. Just prevent opposing Stealth Rocks, to prevent recovery and whatnot, T-Waves and whatever else. It's a really good answer to a lot of fairies that just can't really touch it, like Clefable for example. Would have to run Hidden Power, Ground or Focus Blast, which misses, so it doesn't even matter. So like, yeah, the thing can also be a good check to stuff like Talonflame, of course, with Stone Edge, and it's just typing plus Flash Fire again. Toxic and Will-O-Wisp are both really good statuses for the thing to run. Like, I don't care which one you want, they're both really good. To just punish or switch, especially if, again, bulky water types, you can Toxic them and just wear them down that way, and then eventually Heatran is going to be able to break through your opponent's team. And that's really cool. Of course, what's it called? Magma Storm? Is that the one? Yeah, Magma Storm is also a really cool thing to just trap certain things to, for one, yeah, you want to beat something with Heatran, or you can prevent your opponent from pulling a double, which can be really big. If your opponent has like a answer to Heatran, which is set up for something else in your team, you can abuse that with Magma Storm, which is kind of cool. Or I guess Fire Spin, but it's boring and doesn't look as cool for a thumbnail if you're on a Wi-Fi leak. So. So yeah, I just really like Heatran offensively, but it's too slow to be an offensive fire type in my opinion. 77 speed is a weird speed here for one, but for two it's also not fast enough to not be Scarf and still do things that offensive fire types are supposed to do. And I personally wouldn't draft it, but I think it just works well because it starts two cores, right? Just by its typing, the Fire Water Grass core and the Fairy Dragon Steel core. Just and having that one Mon for those two cores is really cool because you don't have to pick as many Pokemon if you really want those two cores. That's kind of cool. So yeah, Heatran is a guy. Not a big fan of it. It's strong, really strong. That's cool.
I like Heatran quite a bit. I've never gotten to use it, so I have no idea how good it'll be when I use it, if I ever get to draft it. But it is kind of surprisingly versatile. Like you mentioned, it has the defensive set. Spadef is super bulky, 91 HP, 106 Spadef. You're living pretty much any hidden power ground. You're living some earthquakes from weaker mons, which is really nice. It's a great answer to fairies, because even if I'm pretty sure +6 Combine Clefable still doesn't beat this thing, just because Moonblast still does absolutely nothing. It's obviously quad resisted, and you can just spam Flash Cannon until you eventually get a crit, which is really nice. So it's obviously really good for that. Offensively, I do agree. I like this thing a lot more offensively in draft. 130 special attack stat is super good. That's just incredibly powerful. Unfortunately, even though it does get Eruption, you have to run a Quiet Nature with Eruption, which means you're making yourself even slower, which is unfortunate. But if your opponent's team is slow enough, you can do that, and then you're having a Stab Eruption off a base 130 special attack stat, which is really good. Maybe you can
run Trick Room.
Yeah, you can run Trick Room as well. Power Up Solar Beam actually is a lot more viable on Heatran than it is on a lot of other things. Not that it's ever not viable, because it's awesome that it's Power Up Solar Beam and whatnot. But you can trap things in with Magma Storm and then hit them with the Solar Beam. This is actually a relatively standard set. No, not super standard, but Magma Storm, Solar Beam, Power Herb, things like that. You hit something like Stormy with a Magma Storm, you live their Hydro Pump just because of your natural bulk, and then you hit them with a Solar Beam afterwards, which is really good. You can do that to things like Gastrodon. You can do that with things like Seismitoad. So it's just a really nice option for that. And because it's coming from a base 130 special attack stat, it's gonna hurt. Its move pool is not. It's actually pretty good, but it's good enough, regardless. You have Dark Pulse, so if you're weak to Slowbro or something like that, you can throw Dark Pulse on there. Get Dragon Pulse. Don't know if you'd ever use that, but it's there.
I've seen it used very recently.
And something I think we haven't mentioned yet is this. Its stab in Lava Plume is just really good because it's Fire Scald, and that's always really good. So even if you do switch in your bulky water on this thing, it always has the chance to get burnt, which is really nice. And yeah, Heatran, I think its popularity has gone down quite a bit, but I think it's still solid. Like you said, it starts off so many cores. Its typing plus its ability in Flash Fire is just so good for so many different things. You can pair another Steel type with this thing and have it be a really good core.
This is a Heatran. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, Sizzler Heatran, just easy done. Or even Heatran Bronzong if you want to go later on to it, because it's just super good. It's got a unique typing, got a great ability, got a lot of power behind it, super bulky, good stealth rocker, other compliments. Yeah, Heatran. It's a cool guy.
Charge is cool. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, and then the next mon we're going to go over, I'm a pretty big fan of this mon, even though I haven't gotten to use it yet, but you can go over Mega Heracross, so right over here.
I just started Heatran.
Chill. Oh, did you? Nice. Yes, I did. Okay, so I'm going to do Mega Heracross. Alright. So, sure. Mega Heracross. Its attack stat at base 185 is the highest in the game bar Mega Mewtwo X. That's it hits Adamant Close Combat from Mega Heracross hits harder than Adamant Primal Groudon's Precipice Blades.
So stupid.
Which is ridiculous. It goes up to 515. It's crazy. Its defensive stats, base 80 HP and then 115 defense and 105 SpDef, that's really good. It's going to be living Aerial Aces, it's going to be living Hidden Power Fires, and you're just going to be able to get a nice attack off onto it. The only thing hindering Mega Heracross, well, I guess for one, its typing is pretty good offensively, not the best defensively. It does have its defensive... It can defensively check a couple things, but it like the 4 times flying weakness does kind of suck, the fire weakness kind of sucks, but other than that, it's relatively solid. And then its speed. Its speed at base 75 is not great. You're going to be outsped by base 80s like Mamoswine, by like the Nidoking, the one, yes, that one. It's going to be outsped by Nidoqueen. Even Nidoqueen outspeeds you if it's running Timid max speed. So like, that does kind of suck, but it definitely makes up for it in the bulk that it has. It just would have been nice if it's a little bit faster, even though I know that'd be broken. It also has, like, not like the best move pool in the world, but what it has is perfect for whatever it needs to hit, other than Poison Jab. If it got Poison Jab, it would be absolutely amazing, because then it'd be able to hit fairies, but unfortunately it does not get access to that.
It's Venoshock.
It gets Venoshock. It does, look at that. Alright, there you go. Base 40 special attack, nice.
Goodbye fairies, it's over.
But like, its dual stat, what's really nice is it has reliable stabs that typically don't miss. Like Pin Missile is 95% accurate, Close Combat is 100% accurate. Pin Missile with Skill Link, you're going to be hitting 5 times guaranteed. You have the chance to crit. You're going to be guaranteed getting a base 125 stab hit off onto whatever comes in. You're
nice
able
math.
to hit... What?
Nice math.
Did I do that wrong?
I think you did right. That's what I'm saying. I'm impressed.
Oh, thank you. I thought that was sarcasm, because that's all that ever comes out of your mouth.
Is that good?
But yeah, like, Pin Missile in itself, like I said, you're hitting 5 times, you have a higher chance to crit. If something's behind a sub, you can hit them with Pin Missile and then break the sub and then get some hits behind the sub, and then you might be able to knock something out that way. You also, as your other skill link moves, you have Rock Blast, which is really nice, because it's a strong rock move that doesn't miss as often as Stone Edge, which is really nice. You'll still probably miss once and then like lose because of it, and then get really pissed afterwards, but it's more accurate than Stone Edge, which is really, really nice. And it's the same accuracy as Rock Slide, hits a lot harder, which is nice. Same thing as Pin Missile, has a higher chance to crit. And then you have Bullet Seed, and grass coverage for this thing is also really nice. Just for like bulky waters, and then for things that are 4 times weak to it, which is super good. You don't always need Bullet Seed, just because your other, like, Close Combat, Pin Missile, Rock Blast hit most of the things that you want to hit with Bullet Seed, but it's still a nice option for that. This is also a really good sub-user, because you can build this thing kind of bulky, so that, like, Scalds from certain things don't break your sub, or, like, weaker hits just don't break your sub. And then you can set up a sub and then kill something, and then something else is going to have to come out, and then they're going to have a problem dealing with that. Big reason that this thing isn't super common in OU, even though it has been gaining a little bit of popularity, is just because Lando is on like 40% of teams or something stupid like that, and it just hard walls this thing.
And Clefable.
Yeah, Clefable as well. So like, it's kind of rough to use there, but obviously in draft format you don't get to have to face those things too often. And this thing was kicked from UU at the time because it 2-KOs or OKOs everything, and it's just so stupid bulky, and it just deals with so many different things. Like I said, if this thing just got Poison Jab, it would be absolutely incredible, because you'd be able to hit fairies and you'd 2-KO, I think, literally everything bar like Gliscor and like Lando T.
I'm pretty sure, yeah. So stupid.
Yeah, and just in case 515 attack at level 100 isn't good enough, you also get Swords Danced if you want to do that.
And Bulk Up.
And Bulk Up.
There's not much to say about Mega Heracross. It's a stupidly strong Pokemon. It does lose out on a couple things that a regular Heracross does have to offer. Of course, the option of... Well, not only does it have more speed in regular form, it also has the option of running Choice Scarf and Guts, as well as Moxie. 2 really good abilities. The thing doesn't want to get burned. Regular Heracross does want to get burned. So if you're in a league where you don't have to Mega first turn, I think this thing is even better. Because one, you can keep your speed, you can keep Guts, so that's really cool. It doesn't make a huge difference, but it's a cool niche that has to offer. Yeah, I don't think there's much to say. The thing is ridiculous wallbreaker, ridiculously bulky as well. Again, I think you mentioned it earlier, if you pair this up with like a Baton Passer like Scolipede or as the aforementioned Gliscor, really sad times for your opponent.
Definitely. Something I would recommend if you're one of those people who gets to draft Clefable early on, I would say definitely try and draft Mega Heracross next to it, or like somewhere else down the line, because Clefable switches into the Scalds that Heracross doesn't want to deal with. Clefable's like one of the best switch-ins to Heracross anyway, so you're getting rid of that for your opponents to possibly have it, which is really nice. Can act as wish support to it, since it is like super bulky. You can switch it in, take a hit, and then get the wish back. Plus it, and another big one is T-Wave support. Super nice for Mega Heracross, because it's kind of slow, but then T-Wave support, super good.
Yeah, as well as like having Tailwind options on your team, or Trick Room potentially. It's always cool to have Mega Heracross, and if Mega Heracross is the fast thing on the field, it wins, most likely.
Oh yeah,
that's just how it goes.
Like, there's, no matter how bulky the thing on your team is, it's probably getting 2-KO'd by Mega Heracross, unless it resists both of its stabs.
And even then, it probably gets 2-KO'd by one of the other moves. It gets stupid. So strong. So yeah, I guess that's Mega Heracross. I want to see it get used more, honestly. It's a really cool mon.
Definitely. It's
not against me, though. Don't use it against me. So I think we're going to move on to Hippowdon. A mon that we briefly mentioned earlier. That was a combination of two words. Hippowdon is really, really bulky. It's also a good sand setter, and sand is really good. I think T-Tar is a lot better than it as just a straight up sand setter, but Hippowdon is one of the best answers to one of the best answers to electro types, unless they get Grass Knot. 108 HP, 118 defense, and 72 special defense is ridiculously bulky. This thing is very hard to OHKO. I think the only move that like consistently OHKOs it is like Grass Knot, because it's just so fat. But another thing can take any hit, can get off Stealth Rocks, can get off Toxic and whatnot, or just get off a strong hit, because it has 112 attack as well, which is I think a lot of people like kind of overlook that. The thing is really, really strong. If you ever see a matchup where offensive Hippowdon is viable, you can do that, because it's gonna hurt a lot.
I think Raikkonen brought like Scarf Hidden Power Flying Hippowdon one time.
He did. That was in the meme match against Shroom. That was fun. Didn't work, but it was there. Hippo flying for Chestnut, by the way, if anyone's... So yeah, Hippowdon is cool. I personally am not a fan of it by any stretch of the imagination. I just don't like the Pokemon. I think it has too big of a 4-move system every goddamn week, and I don't want to deal with such big 4-move system every week. You're gonna have Earthquake, probably, because Stab and Strong and Ow. You're probably gonna have Slack Off, or you're gonna need Slack Off 100%. There's no way around Slack Off with Hippowdon unless you run Scarf Hippowdon. You might probably pack Stealth Rocks as well, and you have one more move. You might want Toxic with certain things. You might want Stone Edge, Crunch, Ice Fang, etc., etc. Fire Fang for swords. Like, there are too many moves at once. Roar as well, Whirlwind, whichever one doesn't make a difference. Unless there's a soundproof one. If your opponent has Mr. Mime, one Whirlwind. It's like, it has too many moves it wants to run, so I don't personally like it that much. It's really vulnerable to Grass Knot, which is a very, very common move, but it does its job. It's very, very good at taking on certain things. It's one of the things that just waltz Pokemon that usually run through teams, just because it hits 420 HP and 368 defense. I'm not gonna make that fucking joke about 420, but it's more your type.
About it.
Yeah. Like, it is really, really bulky on the physical side. You don't even need to run Fizz Def to take hits. You can just run Spidef and take some special hits as well. It's really just so bulky, and can just prevent you from losing to certain big offensive threats, and that's kind of cool. Sand Streaming, as I said, just good for things like Extral and Southland, whatever. But I personally just don't like it that much. That's just my personal opinion. It's good. So yeah, that's all I have on Hippo. There's not much to say about it.
Alright, so I like Hippo a lot, purely just because of the ground typing. The sand is also kind of nice for chip damage on other things. As long as you draft a team that you don't mind having sand for, it's pretty good. It's a very reliable stealth rocker. Like you said, even though it does have 4-move slot syndrome like most weeks, it does have a relatively good move pool. It's not passive at all, with a relatively high attack stat, and with the move pool it has. It's also, like, even if there is something that can kind of set up on it, it does have access to Whirlwind, which is always really nice. So Hippo likes being around hazard setters just to phase things out, get chip damage on other things, and then just be annoying as hell. I feel like this thing would be a lot better if like, not everything on the planet got Grass Knot.
Oh yeah.
Because, like, it's like, for an example of just, like, the mons that we have on screen currently, like Greninja and Gengar both get Grass Knot. There's so many things that could get Grass Knot, and we'll be able to 2-KO this thing. It is... I think this is probably the best stop to electric types in the format, or just, like, in general, because hidden power... It doesn't matter what hidden power they run. You're not 2-KOing Hippowdon. Like, no matter how strong it is. Like, I'm pretty sure it doesn't get 2-KO'd.
I think Thundy T might.
Thundy T's HP Ice might, even though you're going to run Grass Knot anyway, is one of the 400 things that get it. But also, there's, like, no switching to Thundy in the game anyway, so it's not that big.
This is true. Yeah.
Like, I think Specs Raikou does, like, maybe 40% max to this thing. If you're running mixed defensive, if you're not even running, like, fully Spadef. So it's just super good at stopping electric types. Unless they're running, like, Magnet Rise, then you're just stopping them always.
Yeah.
Which is super, super good.
Damage. Which is always cool.
Yeah. There's not too much else to go over on Hippowdon. It's not super versatile. You can do certain things with it, like make it more offensive, make it like 3 attacks, slack off or something like that. But does its job super well. If you pair it with Excadrill, good, you're giving it Sand. And you're still giving it, like, you still get a good mon in general in Hippowdon, so good Sand setter, super bulky, best stop to electric types, Stealth Rocks. Yeah, Hippowdon.
Cool guy.
It does good. That's good.
Okay. Yeah, move on to more exciting things too.
Alright, so everyone's favorite mon to go against. Jirachi. So
the win con every week, yay.
Yeah. So Jirachi's like in standard, I think people only use like either Scarf or Defensive, which are both very good sets because it has a solid typing, it has solid bulk, obviously being base 100 all around. It's so annoying to deal with. Like just Scarf Ironhead, like it's one of those mons you can bring like Scarf Ironhead every week and still like have a chance to win because you can literally flinch your opponent's entire team down, which has happened to some people. I don't think it's ever happened to me directly, but it has happened. You just click Ironhead, you get like 6-7 flinches in a row, and then you win the game because it's a stupid Pokemon. Like I've seen people flinch down Empoleons with this thing. It's dumb. But it's even better in draft format because you can like run other moves.
Draco Meteor.
Draco Meteor, yes. I mean, not that you can't run other moves in like standard, but you can run like a mixed set that's able to take things on relatively well. If you know you're going up against like a Hippowdon, like we just mentioned, Grass Knot, again, one of the 80 million things that gets it, or just like a water ground type, you'll be able to run Grass Knot or Energy Ball for that. Special is also super good. You can beat Skarmory with things like Thunderbolt and be like an Expert Belt version. You can run Wish Protect with 2 attacks, or like Sub-Toxic, which is probably my favorite set just because it's probably the most annoying versus certain teams. Like Paraflinch is annoying. I think Toxic Flinch is even more annoying because you don't need the paralysis with Jirachi in order to flinch things to death. So like you just Toxic, you do like, it doesn't matter what it is. Like suppose it's I don't know, what would we get? A Bulky Water, why not? Suppose it's like a Vaporeon. You Toxic the Vaporeon. You click Sub. It doesn't break your Sub with Scald because you're bulky, and then you just keep clicking Ironhead until it dies. Even if it has Heal Bell, you'll probably still beat it 1v1 anyway, because they only have 8 Heal Bells, you're getting constant leftovers recovery. It's just stupid in that regard. Even like bulky fire types, it can beat just by flinching it and by poisoning it and doing whatever it wants to do. Like I just mentioned, T-Wave isn't 100% necessary on this thing. You can still run that, and it's still super viable to hit like Steel types that you can't Toxic. You can just paralyze them and then switch out or flinch it down to death. It also has things like Drain Punch to hit certain Steel types. It can be used as a Calm Mind Sweeper, even though it's not necessarily... You're usually not going to run Calm Mind plus Recovery, because then you're running like Calm Mind, Wish Protect, and then one move, and usually there's not going to be one move that you can spam across your entire opponent's team unless they don't have a Dark type, which is silly. It gets access to the Elemental Punches, which is really good. Like Fire Punch, Ice Punch. It's not super strong, so it's not going to be OHKOing a lot, even if it's 4 times weak to it, but it's still a very nice thing just to get damage off onto other things. It gets access to Fairy coverage as well recently with Moonblast and Play Rough. And I think it's also a very good Stealth Rocker as well. You can run Trick. It's also a very good Healing Wish user, has U-Turn to gain momentum. Zen Headbutt, and the more annoying and thing that people like to run now, which is Heart Stamp, which is basically Iron Head but a little bit weaker.
Stupid. Don't do that.
It's only base 60 power, but you'll always use it over Zen Headbutt anyway, because flinching things is fun, and it doesn't miss, which is nice. Also, if you just feel like running an offensive move instead of T-Wave, you can just run Body Slam, which is basically T-Wave with this thing, because you're getting damage off, and you have a 60% chance to paralyze.
You can paralyze electric types. Not electric types, ground types. That's the one.
Yep, there you go. You can
Gen
paralyze
6.
electric types.
Stupid Gen 6
And then
mechanics.
actually, like a set that I'll get into now, just because I have used it before when Jirachi was UU, and I think it's still a viable set, is the Life Orb special set with Doom Desire, Thunderbolt, Energy Ball, and like something else, like just a coverage move, like a filler move there. You can run like a Hidden Power, which is really, really nice. Hidden Power Fire for Ferrothorn, or like whatever, like your opponent's bulky steel type. Hidden Power Fighting. It's not super common. I haven't seen it in a very long time, but it is a lot of fun. Also, Doom Desire is boosted by Life Orb, but you don't take the Life Orb recoil, which is really cool. And Doom Desire is base 140 special, or base 140 power, and you have 100 special attack stat, which doesn't seem like a lot, but you gotta remember that's the same base power as Boom Burst from X-Cloud, and X-Cloud has 97 special attack, and Jirachi has 100, so you technically hit harder than X-Cloud's Boom Burst, which is ridiculous.
Yeah. You can run future set as well, just for the maximum fuck you to the opponent. So yeah, I'm just gonna talk about the other stuff real quick. I used Jirachi. I currently have it on the team. It's such a good Pokemon. It's a really good lure as well. Like, just give it a berry. It's gonna take like nothing from the super effective move. You can hit it with like a Grass Knot, or against. I use it against Weavile, against George in the March Madness final. I had Coal Berry with just Iron Head. Just shoot a knockoff, kill it, Iron Head, done. He brings in the Hippowdon, I Grass Knot that, dead. And this is really good lure plus wall breaker. This thing can be anything, like literally anything. We said a lot about the base 100 Pokemon, but I think Jirachi is probably the best at it, even though Mew of course has the better move pool. I think Jirachi is the best Pokemon at doing anything. Like it can be a good Scoffler with Serene Grace. Step Sweeper, Calm Mind is really scary. Especially defensive, physically defensive, you know, deals with stuff like Staraptor better than most other things can do. Like just physical and special wall breaker kind of thing is also really viable, and I just really like Jirachi. It's really good. It's also, as I mentioned, a win con every goddamn week just because you have Iron Head. You know, it's pretty much all there is to say. It gets Cosmic Power, which if it got Store Power, the thing would be even more stupid. Like imagine Cosmic Power, Store Power Jirachi. That would just not be fun at all. So I think that's pretty much all there is to say about it, but like Healing Wish is also a cool move that you should always keep in mind. It's also something that your opponent is going to have to keep in mind. If they don't, you just bring in a huge threat back to full, unstatused, and it's not going to be a fun time for your opponent's side. Let's say you have like a Salamence or like a Manaphy, even if you get Jirachi Manaphy, that's stupid. But if you do, then your opponent is going to be in a lot of trouble just because of Healing Wish and because Jirachi is an amazing Pokemon. Also, if you draft Jirachi, you're kind of obligated to run Dracomir 1 week. I'm pretty sure that's what it says. Kind of have to.
Yeah, it's a rule.
Yeah. Okay, so that's Jirachi. It's arguably one of the best Pokemon draft format. And probably the best Steel type, at least in my opinion, the best Steel type in draft.
Definitely up there. Literally, like the only...
Which you shouldn't.
Well, and Bronzong as well, but it's also there.
Cool.
Like, literally the only problem with its typing is if you're, like, using this as a Psychic type, it's not resistant to fighting, but, like, whatever.
There are so many things to resist fighting.
There's so many things that resist fighting, and it just does so much. It's super good by itself. It can be good offensively as, like, a special attacker, like a mixed attacker. If you can't beat something with coverage, just beat it by flinching it.
Pretty much, that's Jirachi, yeah. Okay, now we move on. My son. my new favorite, Keldeo. Okay, I used to think Keldeo is bad, okay? Start off with that. And I think a lot of people still think it's not good in draft format just because, you know, it's kind of predictable. A lot of people think of it as just a choice Pokemon, which is so far from being right. Keldeo is really good. Like, on the ladder, I think everyone is aware how good Keldeo is on the ladder. And I think in draft it is actually equally as good. Equally good? English, okay. 129 special attack is always good, especially with Stab Scald. Scald is a really stupid move.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I think Janvez said this at one point. If you get a Skull Burn on a Mega Venusaur, you 2 KO it with Hydro Pump after rocks.
Yeah, like, it's stupid. Like, you can have an answer to Keldeo. Keldeo has one way of beating it. I don't care what way it is, but it exists, it is there. I think you only like hard counters like a Mega Lati, or like regular Latias even. But that's pretty much it. The thing can run specs in powers to beat, things that can otherwise switch in. It can run Taunt. Taunt is a really, really underrated move on Keldeo that a lot of people run. But you can beat stuff like Vaporeon with that, like Sub Taunt just beats that. Or Melodic as well, because their best way of beating Sub Calm Mind would be like Haze or Roar, and you can prevent that and just prevent them from healing up and just beat them that way, which is kind of cool. It also, as I said, Calm Mind is just good. Sub Calm Mind Keldeo is a massive threat. If thing gets behind the sub and gets Calm Mind, things are going to die. Like, at least 2 things are probably going to die. Also, Focus Blast is a move that a lot of people forget about it. Because, of course, Secret Sword is the much better move usually, hitting on the physical defensive side with the special attack set, while using special attack set. Which means a lot of things that can take its Water Stab are going to run Fizz Death. But then you run Focus Blast, and you 2 KO them on a switch with, let it be, specs or even non-boosting item, because Keldeo is just that strong. Keldeo can beat every counter almost that it has, and that's such a huge asset in draft format. If you can look at your opponent's team, okay, is this one thing for Keldeo? How do I beat this one thing and can then just plow through his team with this monster? That's a cool thing. It's really bulky as well, like 91 with 90 defenses is really, really bulky. And the typing, Water Fighting, is such a good defensive typing, which is why Poliwrath is a decent Pokemon, and Keldeo can do that as well, kind of. Speaking of more defensive Keldeo, Restore Keldeo is really good on the ladder, and I think it has viability in draft format as well. Just because you can take hits, you can, have a life orb, you can get worn down and you just rest up, and then you just click Sleep Talk, and if you get Scald, you're gonna get a burn on something. That's just how Keldeo works, you get burns. And Scald is, I think Scald is what makes Keldeo as good. Because you can just got Scald burns on the switch-ins, you can wear them down with the burn, and eventually they're not going to be switch-ins anymore. Even, Tangrowth or Moongus are not going to enjoy getting constant burn damage. With Stealth Rocket, which even spikes, it's not going to look good for your opponent. I guess I'm going to mention Sword Stance as an option. I mean, 72 attack, it's something. It gets close combat, it gets Aqua Tail, like Axes or Poison Jab, so you can do that. It's not great, but it's there. Icy Wind, of course, is cool. In draft, you might just run HP Ice occasionally just for a little bit more damage and not missing, because missing is bad. But yeah, Keldeo is really cool. I really, really like the Mon. I think more people should use it, and I absolutely love it. I think it's so underestimated and underrated. And yeah, it's really, really, really good, guys. Trust me, I'm a doctor. Also, 108 speed is cool. That should probably be mentioned as well. It can run any choice item, like, okay, not bad, but like, you can run Scarf and Specs, both are really good for your wall breaking or just late game or revenge killing certain things, keeping things in check, Step Sweeper and stuff like that. If there's anything else you want to add, you can do that.
Yeah, I don't have too much else to add, other than, like you said, people used to think this was like a kind of bad Pokemon, especially like in a higher tier draft system, but it's like super good. Like you said, its typing is really good. It resists Dark, Bug, Steel, so it adds good defensive synergy. It's not frail at all. Base 91 HP, 90 defenses is really good. If you run Cova Berry on this thing, you can live Banded Brave Bird from Talonflame and knock it out with Scald. Like, it's a very good berry user as well. You can run Pyapa Berry, live like Psychic from something, and then knock it out or get a lot of damage off onto it. It's also something that's kind of nice, is it's very light, so Grass Knot doesn't do a lot of damage to it, which is just a nice little thing. Like you said, it hits super hard, and it's very hard to actually like wall this thing straight up. Like, you would need like a very bulky Psychic type in order to wall it, like Cresselia, maybe like an Assault Vest for Uniclus, or like I'm not even sure if Spadef. What was that?
Jellicent is probably the best.
Oh yeah, Jellicent as well is probably the best stop to it, but even then, like, you can run like Sub Taunt and maybe like an attack that hits it, and then you're good. Or even like Taunt Calm Mind, you'll be able to beat Jellicent 1v1 or something like that. So like you said, there is a way you can beat your counters with this thing. It hits so incredibly hard. The ability to hit both on the special side and on the physical side without having to invest in a physical attack is super nice. And then, like you said, Focus Blast is also like one of those underrated things. I think like the best example in OU it's used for is for like Tangrowth. If your team's like kind of weak to Tangrowth,
Yeah.
you can run like Specs Focus Blast, and I'm pretty sure that 2-KOs anything that isn't like fully Spit F Assault Vest Tangrowth, which is super nice.
After like rocks and it burn. Like burn damage. So like, yeah. I had that calc, so it's really cool.
Yeah, like it's super solid. Also, I think Focus Blast can OHKO Ferrothorn, whereas it can't OHKO, whereas Heat Sword cannot. It just hits super hard. It's very bulky. It's got a very nice speed tier at 108. It's just really good. And then it has a super spammable move in Scald.
Yep, best move in the game coming off that attack stat, special attack stat. Kind of cool. Well, second best move, but you know what I mean. Best offensive move.
Absolutely. I mean, I guess if you want to run like the bounce stat, you can get a paralyzed thingy off that.
SD bounce Keldeo to beat Mega Venusaur. So easy.
There you go.
Now we talk about the big form change, Keldeo Resolute.
Oh yeah, that's super. Does that do anything to it?
It just looks different. It makes absolutely no difference. It's so dumb.
He puts a dildo on his head, essentially.
Yeah.
That's literally it.
That's it. Don't know why.
Is there anything else to even mention with this thing? It's super good. It's like surprisingly versatile. Like not necessarily in like its move pool and such. Like you're gonna be running like the same maybe like 6 moves on it. But
that's all you need.
Like its item is you can run different items on it. You can run surprisingly amount of sets within a surprisingly different number amount of sets in those move pools. It's just good. It's just good.
Yeah.
Start drafting it more. Stop saying it's bad.
No. Don't draft it. Let me draft it.
If you're like, oh, it takes up my water spot, just get another bulky water with it.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Like, water is a really good typing.
It is. Get like water ground type with it, or if you're that concerned about it, because then at least you can switch that into the electric types.
Yeah, easy. And then you get Sapsipa Go-Out for the perfect core. Okay, I'm glad we talked about that.
Okay, so thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed part 3 of the draft format viability episode things. Alright, and when we come back, we're going to have a title for this. Don't worry about it. You also probably already know what the title is because I'll have figured it out before I uploaded it. But yeah, thank you guys very much for watching. Check out Schady in the description below. And I hope you're looking forward to the next episode. So goodbye.
Bye.